Here's the reality of Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria. I believe that not only would this be an outstanding matchup between two of the best fighters on the UFC roster, but I believe that this would be one of the biggest fights that the UFC has ever put together. And on top of that, I believe GOAT status. I don't mean necessarily the greatest of all time, but I mean thrown into the top tier discussion of the conversation would be an added bonus to whoever wins this fight. Now listen, let me explain all these different things because on social media, I've been talking about this. I've been very, vocal about this. I want this fight to happen, right? And I'm a big Islam Makhachev fan. He is who I would be pulling for in this matchup. But I am also one of those fans that is realistic. I understand what is going on. And Ilia Topuria, he's like a feel-good story for me, right? Because on my channel, I'm like, when I saw Ilia Topuria make his debut, actually before I had a channel, I watched Ilia Topuria and I'm like, this guy is the it factor, right? I was running around telling my fans, my friends out there, I'm like pretending to be Ilia Topuria in the gym. I'm like, this dude's boxing. This dude's like Canelo. He's got outstanding grappling. He's got a beautiful calf kick. I'm like, with the personality, the way that he blends everything together, this guy has the it factor and he's going to be one of the biggest stars in the sport. Here we are, a couple years later, the guy is one of the biggest stars in the sport. He is one of the greatest featherweights of all time already, considering what he did to Volk and what he did to Holloway. And now we find ourselves in position to where we could potentially see Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria in a massive title fight. But there's a number of problems with this fight right now. In terms of like just being a fan, I want this fight to absolutely happen. But what is kind of getting caught right in the midst of all of this is the fan bases, right? Because a lot of the Islam Makhachev fans, they feel as if, listen, if Ilia Topuria goes out there and loses to Islam, they're just going to say that Islam beat another 145-pound fighter, which again, that is true because people are going to say that. But in my opinion, looking at this matchup, I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way, and I'm going to tell you why. I believe that Ilia Topuria, outside of Islam Makhachev, might just be the best fighter in the UFC. I believe that he is the best boxer in the sport. I think he has outstanding grappling, and considering what he has just done over his past two fights, puts him in a position to where if Islam gets a win over him, I don't give a shit that it's a 45er because I think Ilia Topuria, if you send him up to 155 pounds right now, I think he beats everybody in terms of the entire rankings to get to Islam Makhachev. So if you said in order to fight Islam, Ilia, you have to go through and beat every single number one all the way through the rankings, he would beat every single one of those guys. And you even see the confidence of Ilia Topuria. He's like, look, if I can't get this double champ fight or I can't, get this matchup, I'll vacate the title. I'll move up to 155 and I'll fight Charles Oliveira because that is who everyone kind of looks at as, basically the number one contender. And you could say Arman is in there as well. But Ilia Topuria is like, I'll go up there, show you what I'm about at 155 to get the crack at Islam. I like the attitude from Ilia, man. I like the attitude from Ilia. But the problem is this. There's a built-in excuse. There's a built-in excuse. It's a natural built-in excuse. Whenever the lighter guy goes up to try to dethrone the guy in the higher weight class to try to get the second belt, there's already the built-in excuse like Volkanovski had. Remember, Volkanovski came up and fought Islam twice, right? I hated that they booked a rematch on short notice like that. They needed a last-minute replacement. I get it, but you wasted a rematch in my mind. So that's why I hate when the UFC does that. But we have that, and that is a real thing, and that is what is discouraging a lot of Islam fans from wanting this fight. But listen, guys, this matchup is huge. This is a massive fight, and I understand that people are going to say, well, but what does this do for Islam? It does a lot for Islam. I think this is the biggest win he could possibly come across in the UFC right now. Bigger than any win over anybody else at 155. Now, you could say if he goes up to 170 and takes on somebody and wins there, that could definitely be a big win. But considering Ilia's undefeated, he goes out there and starches Volkanovski. We haven't seen that at 145. Goes out there and starches Max Holloway. We've never seen that. That's never happened to Max Holloway. And Max Holloway was just coming off of one of his best performances of his career, up a weight class, BMF title fight, UFC 300, KO of the year against Justin Gaethje. So what Ilia Topuria has done is absolutely spectacular. He's got very, very dangerous striking. He's a very dangerous fighter. This is a massive fight for both guys. But it's one of those things where it's like, we can't have it both ways, right? If this fight happens, you can't sit up there as an Ilia fan and go, oh, well, if he loses to Islam, I'm just going to say that, oh, well, Islam beat another 45er. Bullshit. You can't have that narrative, right? And that's what is getting in the way, in my opinion, of people actually wanting to see this fight happen. And there's also people that are like, listen, Ilia needs to do more at 45. He needs to do more at 45. He's only beaten Volkanovski, defended the title once against Max Holloway. We need to see more before you get the double champ opportunity, which I kind of understand that to a degree, but come on, man, it's a big fight. It's a big fight, and I don't think anybody really beats Ilia at 145 right now. I don't. I know Mobsar and some of those matchups are tough for him, but I still think at the end of the day, Ilia is just that damn good, right? And then on the other side, Islam is basically, him and Bilal have publicly said, we're probably not going to go that route, man. We're kind of like teammates. We train together more or less, right? We're friends. We built this nice friendship. We don't want to fight each other, right? And that's kind of what we're getting. And if you give Dana the ammo on that, you give Dana an excuse, he's going to take it, man. We've seen this before where guys are friends or teammates and they don't want to fight each other. Dana holds it against you. Now, I'm not saying he's going to hold it against Islam because Islam is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the sport. Whoa. Guys, John Jones is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. If we walk into a room and John Jones walks into that room, you know who's walking out. It's John Jones. He is, in my opinion, one of the biggest, if not the biggest name in the UFC at present, right? I'm not talking about John Jones and Conor. Those guys are barely fighting these days. Active champion. Islam Makhachev will fight anyone, anytime, any place. He proved that by, still fighting Renato Moicano. I know that was an easier matchup than Arman. Not Islam's fault that Arman pulled out of that fight. But the point is, not only is this a massive fight, which I would love to see it happen, but I believe that if Islam goes out there and he beats Ilia Topuria, it is the biggest win he could come across in the UFC. It's the biggest win he could come across in the UFC. If he went up there and beat Bilal, would people really care? I would. I think that would be a very impressive win because I think Bilal is a very hard fight for Islam. But a lot of people would say, who cares? If he goes up there and beats anybody else at 170, aren't they going to say the exact same things? Right? I mean, I know that he would have the 170-pound belt, so it makes it harder to say that because now he would be the double champ guy. But when you're Islam and you come out there and you say, I'm not going to move up and fight Bilal, he's my friend, which I completely respect, and I don't want to see the two fight, right? I think that they should be in their different weight classes and do their things. But it opens the door for Dana to be like, well, if you're not going to go up to 170 here, Bilal's the champ, and I think Bilal beat Shavkat. So if you're hoping on, well, maybe if someone else is the champ, it's not going to happen. Bilal's probably going to be knocking down most of the guys, if not all of them, inside 170 pounds right now. So I don't see, Islam getting that opportunity to move up. And while he should absolutely get the opportunity, the biggest and best fight for Islam next is Ilia Topuria. And I understand people are like, but we're giving Ilia the opportunity to come out there and do something great. What do we have to gain? I'm one of those fans sitting up there saying, I don't give a shit that Ilia is a 45er. I don't care at all because the guy is dangerous. He's one of the biggest stars in the sport. He has a massive fan base. And what he has done so far in the UFC, while I know he only has basically 2 huge wins, right? The one over Volkanovski, which was wicked impressive. What he did to Max Holloway, incredibly impressive. This guy is firing on all cylinders. He is in his prime. He is like the up-and-coming, what feels like back in the day was Conor, the guy that's talking all the smack, saying, I'm going to knock you out inside, a couple of rounds, and he goes out there and does it. He's backing up, hit the talk. He's going in there. He's doing all the things. This is a massive, massive fight, but you can't have it both ways. You can't be like, I want this fight as an Ilia fan because I think we'll beat Islam, and you go in there and Ilia loses, and then you say, oh, we just beat another 45er. Bullshit. Can't have that, and that type of narrative is what ruins these type of fights, right? Because people run with those narratives, and I'm saying as a fan, let me know if you feel like this down below. I don't care that Ilia is a 45er in terms of the fighter, what he has done and what I think he is going to do in this sport. This is a big, big, big fight. And I believe if Islam goes out there, beats Ilia Topuria, this elevates him. I mean, he's already up there in terms of you could throw him into the GOAT conversation. I'm saying this absolutely, positively does it. We are looking at the most dangerous featherweight of all time, in my opinion. I'm telling you right now, he is the most dangerous featherweight we've ever seen. Nobody does that at 45 to Volkanovski. Nobody does that at 45 to Max Holloway. You saw what he did, the masterclass he put on against Josh Emmett. You saw what he did to Bryce Mitchell. You've seen what he's been able to do to these other guys on the rise. This man is dangerous. He has crazy power. I believe by the time it's all said and done, he's going to be the GOAT 45er. So if Islam goes out there, beats Volkan, he already beat Volkanovski twice, beats the other who is going to be the GOAT 45er. He's already beaten Charles Oliveira. What do you want to see, another rematch at 55? They're not going to give Arman another opportunity after pulling out at the last second. He's going to have to do a lot to earn that, right? And then you're basically waiting on a double champ opportunity. Is he going to go up to 185? I don't really see that happening. Dana didn't sound real wild about it. This is a massive fight. It's a big fight, and I think the reality is this. Last thing, I'm a big Islam fan. I'm pulling for him in this fight. I would be up here lying to you if I thought that Ilia Topuria was not a threat to Islam Makhachev, because Ilia Topuria, out of anybody at 145 and 155, if anybody has a shot at beating Islam, it's Ilia. It's absolutely Ilia, and at the end of the day, is that the reason that fans don't want this to happen? Yes, I know that they're worried about people saying, oh, well, he just beat another featherweight. Or is it the possibility that Ilia Topuria is that damn good, the power he possesses, the skill set, the grappling, all those things that he have? I don't think he's a better grappler than Islam. But in terms of the striking, Islam has improved leaps and bounds. So has Ilia Topuria. The power, the boxing. You can't tell me this isn't a huge fight. Can't tell me it's not a huge fight. And I believe that the winner does a huge favor for themselves in terms of the conversations, in terms of legacy down the line. While Islam has already done a lot more than Ilia inside the sport, I'm saying in the long haul, Ilia Topuria will be the greatest featherweight of all time. And then who knows, maybe he moves up to 55 and tries to make his run. This is a massive fight. I want to hear from you all down in the comments about this topic. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you do not miss an upload. I would appreciate it. See you next time.